So my story, I'm going to move through fairly quickly. This was me. I think I was in my 20s somewhere. I would classify myself as a rebel without a clue. And I was very, very rebellious. It came from my upbringing. I'll sort of clarify a bit about that. You've heard about a rebel without a cause. Yes, I was a rebel without a clue. So I didn't know who or what I was actually rebelling against, but I was rebelling against everything. So it wasn't until I was down to my last $27, I had a $70,000 credit card debt, that I actually realized that I had to do something about this. You know, this was not serving me. And so hence I met this guy. I had done some NLP training before, but this is a gentleman called Christopher Howard. He became a good friend of mine. And he taught me the large majority of NLP, but Chris was a very wealthy man, and he taught me to change my poverty programs. And I really believe that had I not trained with him, that at some point I possibly would have taken my own life. I was depressed for a lot of my life, and I really wanted to break those patterns. You know, they were causing me a lot of harm. So I really accredit the millions that I've made. I accredit to Chris. Not only did he teach me NLP, he also taught me the business of NLP. He also taught me how to actually take my life to a whole different level. This year, I've helped 3 clients make their first million. And this year alone, I've actually helped 7 people that I know of that actually chose not to take their own lives, you know, as a result of all of this stuff that I'm going to teach you. So this means a lot to me because I care a lot about what I'm teaching you, because I can see what it does for other people. And I love that. This is where I now live. I live on the Sapphire Coast. This is one of my favorite surfing spots. I love it. You know, you get a very long wave here, and it's absolutely fantastic. I've been coaching since 2002 and teaching this course since 2006. So I've done now over 38,000 transformational hours of working with people to help them change their lives. There isn't much about coaching I don't know. Here are some of the people that I've helped. This is Jürgen and his partner. I used to wonder why this guy kept coming to me for coaching. You know, I thought surely we've solved every problem that you've got, but I didn't know it until he gave me this quote. He said every time I coached him, it took him up his income. His income just kept getting bigger and bigger. And he said his income increased over 100 grand, and he now lives in Austria. I can remember coaching him in Australia. He was working out, do I live in Switzerland or do I live in Austria? And that's now where he lives, and he's certainly living the high life. But he got it through really learning how to master his thinking. His thinking was getting him into a lot of trouble, actually. This lady I love, she's a grandmother. She came to me, she said, Rick, I really want to be successful in the online space. But she said, grandmothers don't succeed in the online space. She came into another one of our programs as well, a program called Income Incubator, where we teach people how to succeed in the online space. She had, when she gave me this quote, 1,902 people were in her online program. The last time I spoke with her, that number was 7,000 people. So she's very successful in the online space. Her beliefs were really what stopped her. That was it. She was skilled. She's been a teacher for years. She's a good teacher. All I did was I taught her how to be a teacher in the online space. That's it. So this particular guy, I remember I freaked this guy out. When I worked with this guy, he didn't know, by the time we finished talking, he didn't know what was up, what was down, what his name was, why he was here on earth. and he was confused, really, really, really confused. Confusion is a great space. People hate confusion. And once his head came together after our conversation, he doubled his income. And he was shocked that he could actually earn so much more money. But I had to kick out of his head the ridiculous values that were keeping him at low income. This guy's a beautiful man. I said to him in, day one of this course, I said, what do you really want from this course? And he said, I am now in my 20s. He was in his high 20s. He said, I have never, ever had a girlfriend. And he said, I really want someone special in my life. 1 week after the course, this guy found his wife. He is now married, he has children, and he's very, very happy. But the quote that he gave me, he said, my mind was being blown away every hour of this course. That's my job. My job is to blow your mind as much as I possibly can to have you shift your thinking. So, he discovered the power of his beliefs. This lady, she was an actress on Baywatch, and she said, I'm too dumb to coach. That's what she told me. I'm too dumb to coach. I can't coach. I said, you know what that is? And she said, what? I said, it's BS. And she said, you mean it's bullshit? I said, no, it's your belief system. I said, you can be a coach. She's now a full-time coach, very good at it. And, this particular gentleman, he said this, I'll read his quote actually. He said, this program helped me more than double my income. I encouraged my whole family to do it, and they have benefited from what you'll learn from this program. It's life-changing. This is a lovely lady, Mandy Siegel, great vocalist, by the way, too. And she has now she's now a speaker trainer. She designed her perfect life, and she NLP'd her brain until she got her perfect life. Now she's living that perfect life. So that's just the introduction of it. So now I'm going to very specifically talk about NLP and essentially what NLP actually really is. So the truth is, NLP is a powerful set of tools and insights for change. It's very much about change, but it's very much about modeling, how you actually model successful behavior. So if we look at it from this perspective, that neuro, of course, we know relates to the mind or the brain or the functioning of the mind. So that's what the N stands for from NLP, of course. The linguistics is the language. So language is not just what we're hearing, but it's the gestures we're using and how we're communicating and all of this data. We're going to be pulling all of this apart because some of you said that you want to become better communicators. The only way you can become a better communicator is if you understand how communication actually works. So we're going to be going very much into the languaging, body languaging, verbal languaging, internal languaging, and all of the languaging. The P is what often scares people, programming. Now, this is the piece where we can create new pathways. Like, for example, if I held up this pen, your brain immediately is saying that is a pen. So you will pretty much discount it. Or you might look at the blue and go, I like blue, or I don't like blue, but it's data. But if I said to you, if I press the top of this pen and I disappear, it's actually not a pen, it's a cloaking device. Now that will immediately confront your brain. Your brain will go, no, it's not a cloaking device. But if I pressed on this and I vanished, you will need a neural pathway to hold that data because a neural pathway currently does not exist that says that we can vanish and go invisible. So this is how our brain works. We have pathways that have all sorts of data in there. This is how you keep projecting today into tomorrow, into the next day, into the next day. This is how your belief system works. My job is to challenge some of those belief systems so that you can start believing in new opportunities. And this is how new opportunities happen. So this is the definition of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. The programming is really where it's all at. The neuro is where it's stored. The linguistics is how we get it there. So basically, the neuro is the understanding. We need to understand how that works. The linguistics is how we utilize our language to be able to get the change work to actually happen. So I'm going to simplify this as much as I can so you fully grasp it and you understand it. More than that, you can master it. This is the technical definition of NLP. So the technical definition, and what I'm meant to teach you from an accredited perspective, is that you all have to know at the end of the day that NLP uses the language of the mind to consistently achieve very specific and desired outcomes. So in other words, it's the languaging I use to be able to fire off your neurons that creates data in your brain that creates the illusion that you believe in and make it reality. You'll hear me say numerously through this course, that is just an illusion. But understand that humanity hates illusions. We really do. I mean, we like it when we go see a magician and we like to be fooled and we like magic tricks, but none of us like to live an illusory life. We all like a life that is real and is reality. So I'm going to eventually take you here, but I'm just going to touch on this. When we want to create a specific outcome, this is how I personally like to think about it. If you were encouraged as a child and you were adventurous by nature and you had no trauma whatsoever, you might become a courageous entrepreneur, such as like a Richard Branson. So I like studying people, and I've studied Richard Branson. The reason Richard Branson is a billionaire actually came very much from his auntie. His auntie trained him to be a goal setter, but more so a goal getter. She would say, Dickie, if you can swim, I will give you a shilling. And so Richard Branson, wanting a shilling, would almost drown himself to swim, so he would get the shilling. The other thing that his auntie would do, they would go on a big country drive, they would dump him somewhere, and he had to work out how to get back. So that met his adventurous aspect. It encouraged him, but it monetized him as well. So Richard Branson got trained to work for money, and he was encouraged to work for money. And that's how he became a billionaire. It was a formula, essentially. Now, it's more complicated than that. There was a lot more to it, but to simplify it, this is how we need to think about people. If we want someone to succeed, we have to understand psychology like mathematics. When someone comes to me and they say, Rick, I've got a problem. I say, what is your problem? They say, I'm anxious. I have to think, what is the formula that creates anxiety, and how can I add or subtract to the formula? Here's another example. If they were discouraged, not encouraged, discouraged, and they were inquisitive, and they had mental trauma, then you add to heal the trauma, that is, they healed the trauma, they could, in fact, become a courageous journalist. This is the formula that created Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey was discouraged by her father, very much so. Not only that, the mental trauma came because she was actually raped at a very young age. That was massive trauma on her. But what she did is Oprah Winfrey actually found neuro-linguistic programming. She worked with coaches. They healed her trauma, and she was already a journalist. The interesting thing was, while most journalists were very negative in the information and stories that they shared, she became very interested in positivity. And as a result, she zigged when other journalists zagged. She, of course, is a billionaire and did very, very well because of that formula. Now, of course, as I say, it's more complex than that, but this is just giving you a taste to simplify. So when we look at this particular gentleman, Michael Jackson, he was disciplined very hard by his father. His father, in fact, beat him if he didn't sing the right note, if he didn't dance the right step. So he was disciplined very, very hard. He was very adventurous, and he had lots and lots of trauma due to his father. That made him a love-seeking performer. The reason that he became love-seeking was very much because of the love that he didn't get from his parents. So he got it from his audience. So getting it from his audience was great. It made him a success and it made him perform really well, but ultimately it led to his demise. One comment from his father, when his father said, "You have a very fat nose." You know, it's an ugly, fat nose. That caused Michael Jackson to get plastic surgery. So he wanted to completely, he wasn't satisfied with how he looked. And it came from the trauma that he got from his father. So at the end of the day, NLP is learning which formula will help you achieve your desired outcomes. Sometimes we equally have to reverse engineer, like Cindy was talking about. Sometimes we need to reverse engineer to be able to work out what is the problem and how do we reverse it so that we can create a better outcome. So in very simplistic form, this is what NLP is very much about. How do we get a result? How do we do that? And throughout this whole course, I'll be teaching you techniques to get formula to create change.